Hi, welcome to That Reminds Me Of, a podcast about film and the films that remind us of that film. You're here with Baron and the Doc.
And the Maestro.
Do we need another drink? Yes, we do. Yeah.
Moody. I like it. Oh, Doc, look at you. So now I just think what you have to do is tell everyone what today's film is if they can't already guess.
I think they can guess. I don't think there'd be a podcast or any conversation about this film that doesn't start with someone doing this sort of gag.
Chucking on their aviators.
So we're talking about Top Gun Maverick. Can't even spit it out.
Top Gun. Talking about Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick, Baron.
Yes, Doc.
Are you as excited as I'm not?
Oh, so excited. So excited. You know what? It had to be seen and we had to talk about it. It's a thing, right? It's been 30 years since the last one came out.
30 plus.
85? Was it 85?
80s, yeah, mid-80s. I think it was 86.
86. It always felt like a 90s film to me. I think because when I grew up with 90s action films of this ilk.
Yeah.
And maybe Top Gun was one of the early ones. And so it's felt like a 90s film to me this whole time. 86. Wow.
That's what, 36 years?
Crazy. And Tony Scott. I didn't know that Tony Scott did the original Top Gun. Did you know that before you saw this one and started looking things up?
I'm not sure, but what I didn't know was who the hell Tony Scott was. I didn't realize he was Ridley's brother.
Wow.
So that's how
I just
informed I am. Yeah, I know. A gasp.
I just heard a gasp from the maestro. Maestro, everybody. He knows who Tony Scott is. Check out this new angle.
That's a nice new angle you got there, Maestro.
Look at that.
Let's see how often he plays that card.
That's right. Tony Scott. So the other Scott.
Yeah.
Probably the less famous Scott, honestly. I don't know if a lot of people who aren't filmmakers know who Tony Scott is.
Yeah, case in point.
But he's made a lot of big action films over the years, and he has a very distinctive style. A very distinctive style. He's passed away.
All I remember about Top Gun and Tony Scott back in the day was that Top Gun was followed pretty soon after by Days of Thunder.
Right.
Which from memory, I haven't rewatched it, from memory was just Top Gun in cars.
Right.
Almost the same.
Okay.
I could be wrong. That's by memory.
No, that sounds about right. I can't really remember it either. But let's pause for a second.
Yes.
Let's do the shitty synopsis from IMDb.
I think that's a good idea.
And also find out just what we've been doing for the last little bit. It's been a little while.
We were so excited. Probably my aviators got us excited just to jump straight into it. But yes we should take a step back, take this slow and enjoy it.
I agree. Let's ease our way in.
First, what have you been doing?
I think I've talked a little bit in previous episodes about my feature Locked In and how we've gone for funding to do some writing. We got some funding to do some writing. We then recently didn't get the rest of the funding. So now it's come back to me and I will be writing the next draft of Locked In very shortly instead of working with these writers that I was going to be working with had we gotten the full money.
Yep.
So this is the thing. This is the process. But now it means that I'm basically right now gearing up mentally for buckling down and doing another draft.
Well, that's good and bad. Sad to see the collaborators go, but you get, full creative control of what you want to do. So it's good and bad.
And all the work we did together to get to this point is still there.
Yeah.
So, we there was a lot of thinking that went into it. And so, now I'll just be, I'll be taking that and working on the next draft.
And bringing it home.
Yep. Bringing it home. That's the dream.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we'll see. In 3 or 4 or 5 months, we'll see if this draft that I'm working on right now has then turned into something, funding perhaps.
Yeah. Or if you just go full time on this podcast.
Or it could just be that.
Yeah.
That could be great too. Not quite the same.
Okay. I see where your priorities lie.
What have you been up to, Doc? What's been happening?
I've predominantly been just watching Top Gun Maverick over and over again, and because
How many times?
I've seen it twice.
Okay, nice.
I don't know why. Just circumstance, happened.
Who needs spare time?
Who needs spare time?
Top Gun. Is there another viewing in your future?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm done.
Okay, great.
Both screenings had a choc top, a wine, and a popcorn.
Hot diggity. Both Palace?
No. Like as you know, we're pitching to be sponsored by Palace at some stage.
Yeah.
The other one was a competitor who I won't name.
But also offered the similar goods.
It was a similar type of deal, yeah. Yeah.
Interesting, Palace.
Both good
Interesting.
experiences.
Take notice.
Yes, take notice. Correct. You know, it's not a one film house town.
There's other players
Melbourne.
out there.
There are other players.
Ooh.
Yeah, they need to get us while we're not quite hot.
That's right. We can be won over still
We can be.
by
Yeah.
some other players. Okay.
That's me. That's code for I haven't been doing much at all. I've been recovering
Yeah.
from my Cook Islands trip.
That's all
It
right.
seems like a long time ago now.
Well, without further ado, the crappy IMDb synopsis.
I've been waiting for this.
Shall I?
Look, I haven't looked at it because I've been excited. I've wanted to hear you present it.
Okay, great. Well, it's the worst.
Yeah. Oh,
Prepare
great.
yourself. It's terrible. After more than 30 years of service as one of the Navy... Let me start again. It's not the Navy. After more than 30 years of service as one of the Navy's top aviators, Pete Mitchell is where he belongs, pushing the envelope as a courageous test pilot and dodging the advancement in rank that would ground him.
Oh, wow. You've got to really untangle that to get any sense. Dodging the advancement that would ground him. Now, that's true once you think about it. But
You have to think about it, don't you?
yeah, normally they play it too simple, but that's trying to get complex, trying to make something simple complex.
And also it mentions nothing about the plot of the film. It's really just his character, the setup for his character. This guy doesn't want to be promoted because he likes flying planes. Nothing to do with, now he has to go, coach a bunch of Top Gun students, one of whom is the son of his best friend who died in the previous film 37 years ago, and they have to do an impossible mission that's, pretty much bound to fail unless he can somehow get these kids to pull off amazing flying maneuvers.
You need to be writing these things. Forget scripts. You write.
Imagine if
write some synopses.
Imagine if that was the thing.
It was perfect. Like, how can you not mention all those things?
How can you not mention those things?
They're the things.
Yeah. Anyway, once again, IMDb. And there was no extended one in there. That was it. That's all they gave.
No,
me.
that'll do. And we don't care anyway. We're just doing that
we
as a
don't.
bit of an intro to the audience.
Correct.
So and each other to get us in the
in
vibe.
the mood.
I think I'm going to give you two options of where to start, and I'll just go with you. Either we start with the film and your first impressions of the film, the opening scene, what you felt after 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Or we go back and say what you came into the film, what emotional baggage you brought to it.
We have done a bit of that recently.
We have.
I don't think we bother with this one.
Okay, go.
I think everybody's come in with baggage,
Mm.
and that's just to be expected. And maybe we should just move straight into the film.
Let's look for the
What do you
sake
reckon?
of getting a nice succinct episode.
Yeah.
Let's get straight into the film.
Okay, great. Do you want to talk about the director or the film itself first?
Well, the most interesting thing about the director to me
Yeah.
is the fact that his name's Kosinski
Mm-hmm.
and the Val Kilmer's character is Kazansky.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Did you know anything about Joseph Kosinski before you saw this film?
Yes,
Oh, unlike Tony Scott.
unlike Tony Scott,
Yeah,
but
what did you
I
know?
only knew it because I knew we were seeing this film. So I did some research and I watched
It doesn't count.
It doesn't really count.
Yeah.
I can't claim him. Going into the actual film, yes, I'd seen. Look, I'll talk a bit about that later because that's actually one of my reminds me of references.
Okay.
But
Well, can I mention what I
Yeah.
thought about him when I
go.
So Tron
yes,
is the film that he kind of like broke out with. Before that, I don't know what he had done really. On IMDb, it says in 2006. So Tron came out in 2010, right? He did this video for Gears of War,
yep,
Mad World. I remember that video because I remember thinking it was really cool to combine that song with the Gears of War storyline to make a kind of trailer that was created. I didn't know it was him.
I know the song. I don't know the game.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, it was a big game at the time. That trailer was cool. Then he did Tron Legacy, and that film has mixed reviews, but I actually quite enjoyed it. What I really enjoyed is the soundtrack that came with it, which was a Daft Punk soundtrack. One of the coolest soundtracks. It's such a great soundtrack. So that itself sort of elevated this guy in my mind, just to have that thought to put these Daft Punk together with his Tron film and make this great soundtrack. But beyond that, then I kind of lost track of him. I didn't really follow where he went from there.
That's a good move, though, Daft Punk with Tron, because
awesome.
Daft Punk feels both futuristic and 80s, doesn't it, all at once? So I haven't seen Tron 2.
Yeah.
Even though I did my research, I didn't watch that.
Worth checking out just for that.
Yeah. Wendy wouldn't let me. Like I had
Really?
Not wouldn't let me, but I wanted to watch something with her.
You're throwing Wendy under the bus. She wouldn't let you? No.
Every night that you're going to watch a movie, you say, okay, how about this one? How about this one?
Oh, I see.
I wouldn't mind watching this one.
It was a strong suggestion that you should watch something else.
So we never got to it, but I wanted to. I reckon, is it possible he was just at hardcore film school up until then? Because I've not been to film school, but in Maverick and in a couple of the others beforehand, the editing I'm talking about, and I know he's probably not the editor, but he would still shoot it in order to be edited. Yeah. The storytelling via the editing is so, I'm not sure whether to say sophisticated or naive. It's one of the other. And I'm not an expert here, but like the way he tells a story, like press a button, open the hatch, cut to someone in the control room, worried face, and just builds a story through the editing, I thought really stood out to me. And I'd like to know what Maestro thinks about this as an editor, but I wasn't sure if it was just sublimely perfect or, or high school editing. I couldn't tell.
Right. Too on the nose.
Yeah.
Feeding the audience every moment. Oh, you got to press the button to open the hatch. So I'm going to show you the button press first.
Yeah.
Like that?
Well, my instinct is that it was really, really well done.
I feel like it was well done too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to hear the Maestro's take.
Yeah. Do we want to hear it now?
Yeah, let's hear it now. On editing.
I think it'd be candidated as the best editing for the next Oscar.
Okay, there you go.
So that's
when
a high
I left the
endorsement.
mood cinema, that I was impressed with the editing.
Best student editing?
Yeah.
No, I
the
think
Oscars?
it's pretty solid.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I tend to agree. I think this is a very accomplished film.
Yes.
No matter what you think of it, it's well made. He's somehow, I don't even know how you do this, but he's made something that feels like an 80s, 90s action film that still feels relevant in a cinema today.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I didn't think that was possible. I saw it and went, wow, you can do this. It still works somehow. However, I hope nobody else does it.
No, it's perfectly executed on any technical score, I think. And what perhaps was confusing me with the editing is there wasn't, what I like in other films, creative shots and, variety or anything. It was just really punchy and correct and disciplined and right to tell a story.
Yeah.
But no, it's not David Lynch.
I mean, I think your note about it's totally not David Lynch, is it? Your note about the film student part of it actually makes sense to me because I think he has studied the hell out of this genre.
That's what it feels like.
And he's gone, oh, this is how you do it. And I'm going to not just do it, but I'm going to do it perfectly via learning from all of these other things, so that when you sit there and watch it, you're getting hit with heavy doses of nostalgia the whole way through. At the same time, it's just executed bang on. So nostalgia that is executed perfectly and feels modern somehow because of it, because you've got all the new cameras, you've got all the new sound design, it's punching you in the chest the way an action film should. And you're sitting in the cinema going, wow, this is actually exciting to watch all of these action sequences because it's well made. and yet I can feel that I'm being manipulated.
Yes. Did
you feel that the whole way through?
Absolutely manipulated.
Yeah.
And manipulated well. It's
Very well manipulated.
Willingly manipulated.
Yeah.
How did they do that to me? I didn't even like the first one. Like, how did it end up just getting me on the train? I have no affection for Tom Cruise in particular, but it gets you and it gives you nostalgia for something that you weren't even nostalgic for.
Totally agree. And you know what? You've pointed out the editing that flows through everything.
Yeah.
Like this genre of film is a very specific thing that I actually would have thought doesn't work today. It's this kind of bro film where all of the characters, there's one female pilot, however, she might as well have been a man the way she was portrayed, right?
Yeah, let's talk about her later.
Yeah. But basically it's a bro film. A bunch of dudes, they've got their shirts off half the time. They're all muscly and tanned. And it's all of the jock stereotypes are there through and through. They're doing something impossible. They're the best of the best. Nobody else is good enough, and half of them don't think the others are good enough. And it's like, it's this sort of film that was really prolific for a little while.
Yeah.
80s, 90s, late 80s through the early 90s or mid 90s. You saw lots of them. In fact, I started to make a little bit of a list.
Oh, wow. I love lists.
Yeah, because, I was like, let's talk about bro films for a second, because that's what it reminds me of for me.
Well, yes, I think this is going to be yours.
We've talked about Bad Boys. Fast and the Furious is newer, but I put it in the same category, and the same thing with The Expendables. Things like Point Break.
I liked Point Break.
Point Break's great.
Yeah.
Some of the bro films are awesome.
Yeah.
And there's many, many more, right? What they all have is a bunch of guys. They're all put into a situation. Most of them, or half of them, don't like the other half, and there's always at least one. There's always two, right? There's two alpha males that are butting heads the whole way through, and by the end of it, they've always become best mates because they lived through something together. Trust is earned; it's not given, and it's just on and on and on. There's all these tropes, these like full-on heavy cliches that in today's world just seems a little bit ridiculous, and yet this film is that through and through.
But it's knowingly ridiculous, I think, isn't it? Like, it's trying to recreate that, and it does. And even though it is ridiculous, we yearn for it, for the simpler time.
I agree,
and it delivers.
The truth is that those things haven't gone away.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't talk about it.
They've gone away a little bit from film, from being okay in film.
Yeah, boys are still going to high school. They're still in the football team together. They still feel all these things. They wish they were going out on a hunt together, tribal style and retelling tales of, taking down animals in the wild together or whatever it might be, However, we don't talk about it in film anymore. So this thing comes along. I was sitting in the cinema going, this is unusual. And it's delivering all of these cliches one after the other. And yet I'm still kind of moved by it,
Yeah, I was in equal parts moved and uncomfortable.
True. Same.
But, the fact that they're both there, it says something. You talk about the alpha males, and a high point for me came very early in the film, in the opening credits, and it was a good opening too. We can talk more about that, but when Val Kilmer's name came up, and I didn't realise he was in it. I hadn't researched it. But that was nice because he's not been well, and he's got a whole story about.
I didn't realize he hadn't been well. So he actually has throat cancer of some sort.
Yes, yeah. So this was a real, nice gesture to him.
Yeah, that's cool.
And to his scene is quite profound that he has in it. But the thing I wanted to hark back to was his character in the original, the Iceman. Do you remember that at all? Like, what were your? It's going back a bit.
And look, I've actually, this is my bad. I haven't rewatched the original.
No, I don't think that's a bad.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, that's great.
I did rewatch it.
At least one of us did.
Well, my memory of the Iceman was as the villain, essentially, and we all hated him, this prick, and Tom Cruise the hero.
Right.
Watching it back over, Iceman is a perfectly reasonable, great pilot, and Tom Cruise / Maverick is an unhinged psychopath.
Really? Interesting.
It's got to be seen to be believed, I think. I don't know how people aren't talking about it. He's crazy. Like
It's reckless.
he's reckless. There was some quotes I put. Val Kilmer perfectly reasonably says, "You guys are real cowboys because they've just done something stupid," in a very level voice. And then he just goes, "What's your problem, Kosinski?" And like with the Tom Cruise eyes, and just gets unhinged at the
Really? Wow.
yeah. And he loses his partner Goose, and you sort of think, well, that you had it coming because you. Anyway, I don't know why I'm saying this, but just history and memory are funny. And Iceman wasn't the devil; he was just a nice guy, and Maverick was crazy.
Yeah.
But in this film, I think we see a more sober, level-headed version of Maverick, even though he's still a bit of a Maverick.
He grew up a bit.
He's grown up a little.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my Val Kilmer
I didn't know.
story.
Yeah, that's great. One other thing I wanted to mention about bro films.
Mm.
that
You and
this
your bro films.
This made me think about is that if you have a bunch of bros in a film doing crazy bro things together, that's all great. But what's more important is that you have a hot woman who appreciates the bro things that you're doing.
Yeah.
And-
The enablers.
Yeah. Yeah. And not only should she just be hot, but she must also appreciate machinery
Yes.
and like how they run and be able to use the machinery themselves.
Yep.
And she should know how to lean against a sports car with the sun hitting her at just the right angle
Yeah.
at just the right moment.
I can think of someone who does that very, very well.
Yeah, she should know how to sit on the back of a motorcycle
Yes. Yes.
without a helmet and just like drape her arms nicely around her man. These are important things.
Of course,
In a bro film.
Of course, they're important things.
And Jennifer Connolly does it all. She's amazing in this.
Yeah. Do you know the only thing she doesn't do
What?
is achieve any sense of sexual chemistry with the leading man?
Yeah. Why is that?
Look, I'd argue that Tom Cruise, love him or loathe him, is pretty hard.
He's asexual.
Yeah, he's a bit asexual. Yeah, that's where I was going. I wasn't sure how to frame it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's okay. He's hard to manufacture.
You can kind of
chemistry
imagine
with.
that maybe he doesn't actually have any genitalia.
He's a doll.
He's a doll, but he's a great action star.
Yeah. That's fair.
And
And yet he's magnetic. He's definitely got charisma, but not sexual charisma.
I agree.
Although he did in the 80s when all the girls loved him in it. Do you remember this?
Do I remember the 80s?
Do you remember just
I was pretty young, but
do you remember the phase? You do. Do you remember when every girl / woman just was in love with Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was around Top Gun. It was
And
this
also
Color of Money.
The disappointment to know that it was very short.
Yeah.
And Cocktail was a big one.
Yeah, all of these films. Yeah. Totally.
I don't
Massive
get it,
star.
but yeah, I think
Oh, trivia for you, by the way.
yeah.
So one of Ridley Scott's first films was Legend, starring Tom Cruise. Fantasy film. And then his brother... did Legend come before or after Top Gun? Now I can't remember.
Legend. I've never heard
They
of
were
that.
very close to each other. And so the two brothers worked with him.
But Tony got the bigger film.
Legend has I think it's an awesome film, but it just never really got its due, I don't think.
1985.
85.
Yeah, that's
Was it
right.
a year before?
Right next to it.
Before.
There you go.
Speaking of sexiness, I think it's well documented that there was no sexual chemistry in Top Gun, the original, with Tom and his soon to be wife, I think, Kelly
What?
McGillis.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, so which one was Nicole Kidman in?
Well, Days of Thunder. That
She
was
was in
that
Days
was
of
that was
Thunder.
Top Gun with cars.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then Eyes Wide Shut when they got very sexy indeed.
Yes. Okay.
Well, you know,
On
they
screen.
had sex scenes. I'm not sure how sexy they were. But I think we're getting sidetracked. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. What do you want to talk about next? We have been sidetracked.
We have been. Look, let's get a reminds me of out of the way.
Throw one in there, Doc.
I'm gonna go with your bros theme because I don't think we've done it enough.
No, hit me with some more bro films. I'm excited.
Well, in Kosinski's back catalogue is a film called Only the Brave.
I haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
I've seen it.
That looks like a bro film through and through.
Well, that looks like Tom Cruise with fire engines is what it is. Did I say Tom Cruise with fire? I meant Top Gun with fire engines. Sorry, Tom Cruise.
But there's no Tom Cruise in that one.
No, there's Josh Brolin playing Tom Cruise, and so Josh Brolin is an aged veteran fire guy who's in this small town, has no interest in going up the ranks. He just wants to be master of this little county fire, department, and he also doesn't want any of his underlings to have dreams of upward mobility either.
It's about the work.
It's about the work. It's about this stuff. And the similarities, we could be here for a while, but first of all, Josh Brolin is in a relationship with Jennifer Connolly. It also
she's in it.
Is inexcusably unsexy.
So is that a directing flaw? Or is that the two? Is it just putting the people together? Because both those, they're all great actors. They should be able to do
it. It wasn't really no chemistry with Josh Brolin. The character just didn't give her enough attention. I think it was. So anyway, he leads a group of young fireys, the kind of toxically masculine fireys, learning the craft. He's teaching them. This young kid comes on, Miles Teller, who is also the one that Tom Cruise has the connection with.
Yeah.
So Miles Teller comes in. He's kind of the main guy within this group of bros. I don't know. Need I say more? Like that's the same sort of setup. I won't give it away. It's a true story, based on a true story, but it just shows that Kosinski's got a lane.
Could it be that Kosinski was trying to get this Top Gun film made? Right? He had his cast. And he was like, these bastards won't listen to me. That Top Gun Maverick set in 2022 can work, I tell you. It can work. What else is there? Oh, look at this fire thingo. This script's come across my table. I've got all the cast lined up, except for Tom Cruise, because he comes with Top Gun. Maybe I'll just do a sort of proof of concept about with fires. Or maybe I'll make another film in the meantime that just sort of feels like what I want to make.
It's interesting you say that. Do you have any? Have you got any other Kosinski films to mention? You haven't.
No. What else was there?
Well, I think
no. I've seen Oblivion, but it's not worth talking about.
Well, it is only
other than it's got Tom Cruise in it.
Well, in passing, it is when you're talking about Kosinski getting his CV prepared. For the Top Gun thing. That's what he's aiming at. I've just explained the street cred he's got with Only the Brave. Tron shows that he can take a franchise that's been long forgotten, and revamp it in a creative now way with Daft Punk.
Did you say revamped? Almost like learned?
No, I didn't. Revamped. Revamped. Oh, how I wish I'd said revamped. Revamped.
No, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so, yes, Tron was revamped by Kosinski, so he's got that on his CV, and also Oblivion shows that he
can work with Tom.
He can work with Tom, and he can work with planes. They were futuristic type things. Had a lot of futuristic Top Gun about it. Oblivion.
So what you're saying here is that from 2010 until 2022,
correct,
Kosinski's been working towards bringing back Top Gun. And now he's here.
Pre-2010, he was at film school.
Yep.
And post-2010, he was working on his CV.
Beautiful. I love it.
Have you got one? Have you got one?
Have I got one? Have I got one? Okay, so this one, it just kept banging me in the forehead while I was watching the film.
That's what we want.
That's what we want. It just kept coming up and up and up. Only really to do with the fact that it was a plain Navy pilot film, right? Then Tom Cruise's plane goes down behind enemy lines.
Yes.
And this film that had been sitting there the whole time, hitting me, is Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson and Gene Hackman, because it's gone from Tom Cruise doing his usual sort of, well, doing the Top Gun thing that you think it's going to be, to suddenly he's, you know, behind enemy lines, running around on his feet instead of in a plane, looking for a way out of the situation. Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson, the situation's flipped. Most of it is him behind enemy lines.
Yeah.
At the beginning of it's him on the aircraft carrier. He's got a mission to do, does a bit of flying, gets in trouble, behind enemy lines the rest of the film. However, there was something about the Gene Hackman character and the John Hamm character, the whole Owen Wilson and Tom Cruise being a bit like the rebellious ones. I think in Behind Enemy Lines, it's actually a bit of a routine mission, but it just goes badly. But then he finds himself in awful trouble. Anyway, all of that stuff was in there. And then just that 90s nostalgia feel.
When he dropped Behind Enemy Lines, it felt like Rooster was 10 kilometers away, but he seemed to make really good time to get to him.
Big time.
Yeah, that the magic of movies.
Yeah, in fact, the whole who's going to show up to save who thing, like all the dudes who are having a problem with each other are all going to show up when they're needed to save each other, is a little bit over the top. But it somehow you just forgive it.
Yeah, I more than forgave it, I reckon. Because I thought that was nice how Hangman, who's the new Iceman, well, everyone saved everyone, didn't they?
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
And that was well thought through to give everyone their time in the sun. I can't remember the order, but like Rooster saved Maverick, Maverick saved Rooster, Hangman saved everyone. It was a well-distributed credit for the victory.
Yeah. And then all the bros high-fived at the end and it all was well.
Which was identical to the ending of the first one. Just ridiculous. And there was so much that was basically exactly the same as the old one. Like the plot points and the scenes that we supposedly all know and love were almost just replicated. Like, for example, and this is one of my favorites, the John Hamm character showing how to give great news, but in a really prick way.
Right.
Like, and that was exactly like the first one where they'll say, "Don't do that. You're an idiot. Don't do that flyby. You shouldn't have done it." You think he's about to be cut from the Navy.
Yep.
And I can't believe I'm saying this, but we're going to give you this golden ticket to this great gig. Exactly the same setup as the first one.
John Hamm, I mean, he's been used better in other things, but he was solid in this, I suppose.
He's always solid.
He's always solid.
I kind of like to see him.
Yeah,
Be a bit
this
more interesting.
But then you get guys like Gene Hackman did films like this as well. And you think Gene Hackman, amazing actor, can do anything.
One of the best.
Yeah, and yet he does these sort of staunch military men from every now and again. What's the appeal? I don't know.
Paycheck.
Paycheck?
I think so.
Probably.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, I guess they're like, I can nail that. That's easy. It's a big film. Good paycheck. Why not?
At the end of the day, like it's like us. Like, do you live for the work you're doing at work? No. So you just do it, and if it gives you a paycheck, gives you enough of a paycheck to then relax on a beach and write your script.
Yeah, work on the other stuff. That's true. You know, I have another reminds me of that's broad, kind of like my bro films one.
Yeah.
Sports films.
That reminds me of sports
films.
Discuss.
Sports films.
Look,
discuss.
I'm already thinking that's, even though it's a broad, somewhat lame,
yes,
reminds me of, I'm kind of digging it. I think it's a good.
You feeling it?
Yeah, it's a good topic for discussion. Hit me.
Friday Night Lives.
Lights.
Night Lights. Thank you. Friday Night Lights. The Replacements, also starring Gene Hackman. And even just kids ones like the Mighty Ducks and stuff. They all have the similar format.
Yeah, they do.
That's in this film. It's we've got the team together. We've got the impossible mission. Now, instead of you're up against the undefeated team that's never ever been defeated on their home turf, and you're a bunch of loser sidekick kind of kids, but we've made this team, we've cobbled you together. It's not really that, but It is kind of that.
It's
like,
that.
They're like, you're going to put you up against, a line of Sams. You're going to have to do this crazy maneuver. It has to be done in 2.5 minutes or else you're dead.
Yep. And that's just Miracle 1.
Yeah, that's Miracle 1, right?
Yep.
It's for the playoffs, folks. And like they just keep hammering the stakes over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you've got these kids that just won't play together nice. They're just a bunch of characters. So the coach, who's feeling the pressure, has to get all the kids to play together, right?
Wow. I'm tempted to throw cheerleader films into the mix.
Yeah. And then, of course, they somehow make it and they all high five like bros at the end.
Yeah, they all love each other at the end.
At the end, they love each other.
And sometimes in the sequels, they really love each other. And, as Val and Tom did in this one.
And whenever there's a sports film, coach always has a love interest. It's not just about the team. There's also the love interest of the coach on the line.
Do you think, in general, that love interest of the coach is better integrated into the story than it was in Top Gun Maverick? Because that would be one of very few complaints really I have of it, that not only was it sexless, it was kind of like not related to the... She just happened to run the bar, happened to have this connection to his past. There was no real through line from the old film. If it was Meg Ryan, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like just a mechanism for saying that, Maverick isn't a lonely prepper and, living by himself.
That would be pretty great, actually.
Yeah. It was just meant to show another side of him rather than being well integrated into the storyline.
No, I think you're right.
Oh, good.
But I think there was a bit of difference in the role of women in the 80s and the role of women now. I mean, what I've noticed, I watched it recently, the day before, to go to the cinema. I watched the old one, and Kelly McGillis just was following him. She fought for him. She couldn't demonstrate in front of everyone, but she followed him with a car. She's the one that made the love declaration to him. In this one, is a bit the opposite. I mean, it's a bit of you can't treat a woman like you did in the 80s.
It was awfully treated in the original when you think of the man-woman relationship. Like I mentioned that Maverick was a wanker. Like, watch it back. He's an idiot in the first film. But the way the idiocy towards women is next level. Like, he's aggressively pursuing her at the bar, and then follows her into the bloody women's toilets and starts, harassing her in there. And what's worse, she just runs with it, and rewards this outrageous behavior.
while in this one, that behavior got punished.
Yes, in this one, it's very PG.
He has to pay the bill to everyone, etc., because he was behaving like sexist.
Yeah, that's a good point, Maestro. Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure how well in other respects it did the woman thing.
Well, let me point out one thing
that
just blew my mind. The end shot, the end sequence.
We're talking the Porsche.
The Porsche, right? Okay. So he's just saved the day. He's come home. He's the hero. He's working on the plane with his guns out. And then
oh, sorry.
Right. You think everything's back to normal, but there's something missing. The woman, the love of his life. Where is she in all of this, right? Because he just went off on this mission that he was probably going to die on. So then, not her, but her daughter just appears out of the corner of his eye, catches his eye, and he's like, oh, the love of my life's daughter's here. I wonder what's going on. He walks out, and Jennifer Connolly's literally like, she's just gone, hey, go in there and catch his eye, and then I'm just gonna be here against this car. And the sun is setting, and there's wind just blowing. And the second he walks around the plane, he's going to see me and he's going to be struck by this image of me against this Porsche.
Yeah.
It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, she said, I'm going
Go,
to
daughter. Get his attention.
I'm going to look more 80s than in excess, she said.
Blew my mind. I was like, wait a second, what? She's just manufactured this moment for the end of the film for us.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
That's outrageous.
She knows what's going on.
But you know, I kind of dug that scene.
What I would love
Sailing.
is if there was sort of like a behind the scenes kind of clip of her going, actually discussing this with her daughter. Okay, you go there. give me 5 seconds. And then I'm just going to wait a second. Let's wait a couple minutes. The light's getting real good.
Oh, that's beautiful. That reminds me of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Yeah.
Like what's happening off camera when the main actions. Oh, geez, there's a movie idea. Do you want another one?
Yeah, give me another one.
Okay, well, I've got a specific one, but given you went broad and just said bloody sports films,
It's a bit of a
sports
cheat, isn't
films
it?
and cheerleader films by extension, I'm going to say teacher films. Teacher films. Rogue teachers who have,
Dead Poets Society?
their own ways of doing things. Dead Poets Society,
Okay.
Dangerous something, Minds.
Yes.
Michelle Pfeiffer's White Gold.
Yep.
But the one I was going to mention is To Sir with Love, the original.
Oh,
Have you seen To Sir with Love?
I have not.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, there's Sidney Poitier goes into a school of British white misfits. The class is a mess. They have no respect. And he comes in, he struggles to tame them initially. He's dealing with all sorts of kind of racial nonsense that is mind-boggling to look back on. And he struggles with them, but then he throws out the rule book, just as Tom Cruise did, does it in his own way, and he ends up getting the most out of this ragtag bunch of hopeless cases.
Wonderful.
And I think they're all the same. Like the teachers always have unconventional methods.
Yeah. School of Rock.
School of Rock, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we can riff.
Yeah.
Actually, I've run out, but I'm sure there's
I've run
heaps.
out. No, I was trying to
I had
think of some
three.
more. Yeah.
The one with Robin Williams.
Yeah,
Dead
Dead
Poets.
Poets Society.
Dead Poets Society.
Yeah.
Sorry, because in Italy it was called in another way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what was it?
I think it was Carpe Diem.
Oh, because he's, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. The other thing To Sir with Love has that Top Gun Maverick had was it gave you a real discomfort about gender relations. When watching back To Sir with Love, it doesn't really age that well. And like the teacher is kind of telling the girls how not to be perceived as sluts, for example. And really like that's a perfect example. But just this completely inappropriate type of stuff and how to prepare for marriage.
Right.
And that was considered like a really great thing that he's, giving them the life skills.
Right.
So that reminded me of just the feeling I had watching Top Gun Maverick of unease about how women were represented. And that was mainly with the token chick in the group, which I thought, I don't know what the ratios are in Top Gun sort of, reality, but in most films these days, they would have made an effort to at least portray, maybe 3 women.
Yeah.
To have, a bit of femininity in it to play down the toxic masculinity. But no, they didn't make any attempt. They just slotted her in as a plot device because clearly she's a love interest of Rooster. If there's to be a Top Gun 3, there'll be the heroes.
Right.
So it seemed really token, made me quite uncomfortable, as did To Sir with Love in retrospect.
The scene that made me the most uncomfortable was when they were all playing football on the beach.
Well, do you remember the original version of that?
No.
Oh, so yeah, you need to read up on your Top Gun history. So it's known to be this, homoerotic wet dream.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because everyone's, really tussling on the beach with their shirts off. Is that the idea? Or?
Well, not just on the beach. There's a scene with Tom Cruise in his in his tidy whities, just for too long, leaning against a bench, just
I see.
posing.
Yeah.
There's also a shower scene where all the guys are there with their chest puffed up and stomachs tucked in. So it's a real vibe through the original, and I think they had to have some sort of nod to that,
Right.
and that's what
They play volley and
they
play
play
on the beach volley.
beach volleyball in the original,
In the
yeah,
original,
but they
yeah.
play like beach footy,
Yeah,
In this
you
one.
know, in this one. But
So-
it was necessary.
I found it odd that they were all running around with their tops off, and then you have this one woman just in the middle of it, in sort of like, a sports bra, I guess. But the whole thing just looked and felt really quite strange. And, one thing it reminded me of, actually, now that we're talking about it, is Starship Troopers. I don't know if you remember.
Taking the mickey out of everything.
Well, Starship Troopers, one thing it did,
Yeah.
it's a ridiculous film, and I love it. It's a really fun film. But it had all the men and the women showering together, sleeping together
Oh, wow.
in the same quarters, and really equal parts men and women just doing all of the things and treating it like it's just normal, like there's nothing weird about this, all just getting naked and having a shower together.
Yeah.
And I can remember when I first saw that film, I was a teenager, and I was like, "Whoa, this is unusual.
This is 20 years before its time.
Yeah, this is really strange." But then when you see a scene like this, you go, "Oh, it doesn't feel right." It just made me think about that a little bit. Like the way a bunch of dudes go down to play football, and there's one woman in there, but there's not more women, and they're all got the tops off. It just felt odd.
Yeah, it felt odd.
Yeah.
It reminds me now that you say it of one of the aliens, Alien 2 or 3, whatever I'm up to in that silly franchise.
Silly franchise.
Where what's her name? Sigourney Weaver is in the change rooms or something and kind of getting dressed alongside the blokes.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the vibe of that was, but I think it was halfway between both of those extremes.
In the middle somewhere.
Sort of almost this should be normal, but we're getting a little bit of the sexy vibe in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
You're good to agree to nod to that, but I think that was.
I'm not into it, but I think it's.
You think it was a stupid
it's
comment?
terrible comment. Anything else you got to say about this? Should we throw to the maestro for his moment?
Yeah, I think we've waited long enough to get.
We
to this
have. We
moment.
waited so long. All I want to know about is the moment with the maestro.
I think my tip is he's going to say something about editing.
Ooh, imagine.
Yeah. Because I think I was impressed from the opening scene. And watching the movie the day after the old one, I saw the old one. So I could notice the difference. And it was a very well edited opening scene. Like all the action scenes, they're very well edited. So I think what really was a sort of, I wish I had the digital editing I can at the time when they did the movie. Probably it was the beginning of digital editing, Top Gun 1986, but was very well edited. I was impressed from that. It was same music, same lighting, sound grading, just better edited.
Yeah,
the way they do it is it's a heavy hit of nostalgia right at the beginning, isn't it? Because it's like all of those films we're going to shoot it through a heat wave, and it's going to be sun setting, and it's going to be like lots of heavy, like, planes and tanks, and there's going to be dudes with gear on doing things, like making stuff happen, and it's all going to be action with like a guitar playing at the same time, and you're in for like a serious military action film.
Yeah, but also I don't know. I judge the movies when I leave the cinema. What's my impression? And I had fun.
Yeah,
I had good fun.
Awesome.
Watching this movie.
I agree. I had a great time watching it.
Yeah.
I was surprised how much fun it was.
Yeah. Considering when 2 years ago, because I think was announced a couple of years ago before COVID, I said, "Oh no, why are they doing it?" That's the first reaction. Why do they remake a movie about with Top Gun? But actually, I got out of the cinema. It made perfectly sense. I had fun. It made me like Tom Cruise. It was good.
Nostalgia is a powerful bloody weapon, isn't it?
Sure is.
Like, the 80s, I think, were an interesting time because I don't think I would have ever seen Top Gun in the cinema, but we would have all seen it several times on free-to-air TV.
Loads.
In the background.
Yeah.
And just even if you don't intentionally, want to see it, you end up having seen it several times in your life, and it's part of your DNA.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I think it's so resonant now, because everyone knows it.
In Italy.
What was it called?
No, they didn't change it. It was Top Gun, and it was in Italian, and I saw actually at the cinema. So I'm a bit old.
I got nothing else to say about this film, honestly.
Yeah, we're done.
We're top done. We are top done. This episode of That Reminds You of, Me of, Us of, was not brought to us by Palace Cinemas, but maybe one day it will be.
Palace Cinemas? Am I allowed to barrel anymore?
Barrel, go for it.
We want you, Palace Cinemas. We want you. We're your biggest fans, and we want you to be ours.
Yeah, it's getting weird now.
It is.
It's getting very weird.
It's getting as weird as Jennifer Connolly and Tom Cruise, in my opinion.
I'm prepared to make it weirder.
Wow.
Palace. It's going to get weirder.
You're barreling too.
I'm barreling too. You barrel and I'll barrel. You
Okay.
barrel and say something about Palace and I'll do the same thing.
I think we've done it already.
Okay. Your leather chairs are wonderful.
Oh, your popcorn really pops.
Boysenberry chuck tops.
I think we're done, Baron.
Okay, we're done.
Yeah, we might even cut that last bit out.
Of course not.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
See you next time.
See you next time for
Maestro, catch you next time.
See ya.
next time. Men. Talk about toxic masculinity.
God damn.
We're talking about men.
I want to say it's the opposite of this film, but it's actually the exact same of this film, but opposite.
I don't want you to say anything about the film other than
Next time.
anyone who's listening or watching here, go out and watch Men.
Yes.
So you can come to the episode fully briefed.
Yes.
We don't normally give a preview.
More than usual.
Yeah.
I feel like you need to see Men before you listen to this.
Because it'll be
next
spoiler
episode.
heavy. We can't talk about it without spoiling it. Go out and see Men, preferably at Palace Cinemas. Au revoir.
Catch you, dog.
Bye.
See you, Maestro.